Welcome back, lovely people. We are back at it of a night time again, so please bear with me with the lighting. Hope everyone's had a good day, or at least maybe you'll get something out of this reading even if you're not having a good day. Tonight's intention for the reading is for ways that we can reduce our overthinking, or I don't know, yeah, how to help or work with our overthinking, just how to reduce it, I guess. So just starting with a smudge. That's what we want. I'm just going to use some Palo Santo to cleanse as well. Sometimes I feel like they sort of both can get some different, get at or clear like different energies a little bit. You know, they're both pretty foolproof anyway, but while we're at it, why not? Cool. Alrighty, so welcome to tonight's reading. So tonight for looking at ways that we can reduce overthinking or work on it, or things we can do to help it. We have three piles. Pile number one with the Wildwood Tarot, and we have the Tourmalinated Quartz, or tourmaline in quartz. Quartz with a tourmaline inclusion, however you want to say it. Pile number two, the Waite Tarot. Bloody, I wonder, you know, is it just me with my speaking, or should number two watch number one as well? All right, and that's with the Pistachio Calcite. It's really soft, really lovely. It's almost calming. And pile number three, the Light Seers Tarot with the Labradorite. And I'm hoping with this lighting we can get some sort of flash with it. Maybe I can get an angle that you'll actually pick up on camera, so touch wood, right? Anyway, all right, let's get into it. So welcome group one to your reading. If you chose the Wildwood Tarot and the Tourmalinated Quartz, this is your reading. So the four cards that I have had come out, we have the Three of Vessels, Joy, which is traditionally Three of Cups, Ace of Arrows, the Breath of Life, Ace of Swords, Ten of Bows, Responsibility, being Ten of Wands, and Two of Vessels with Attraction for Two of Cups. So we'll see what we get. Just to start with the Three of Vessels, I do feel like you may be currently in a time where people are looking up to you, even if you don't realize, even if you're just feeling like you're all along for the ride, or it's like good times or times of celebration. Maybe you don't realize how highly people think of you in this point in time. There's also something being highlighted about your stance, and I'm not sure if this is like your stance on things as in an attitude. We'll see if we can get... I'm hearing moral high ground. And I think it's because you know what you think and you stick to your guns. And I think that's what people really appreciate and respect. In this case, like about you. And I feel like out of these people, if you may have had previous suspicions that or you had the feeling at some point that, you know, these particular people that are like in close proximity, I'm not really sure if they're in a work environment or not, so maybe you had the suspicion about someone around you sort of having it out for you, but I don't feel like these people do. And I think most of the times when someone has it out for us, we usually can tell, right? I wonder where that's come from or what that's about. I don't know, whatever it is, I just think that I don't know what that other energy is that just sort of come in, where it was like wondering if somebody had it out for you, because I feel like this is just you with a couple of close friends, and you're all in really good place and you all really get along and it's good time. Everything I was saying at the start, I still will stand by that. So maybe we'll leave that thing about that suspicion. I don't know, man, take it as you will. It's your reading. If it resonates, take it. If it doesn't, leave it. We'll see if anything pops up to do with it later in the reading anyway. Alrighty, so moving on to the Ace of Arrows, the Breath of Life. I'm just hearing there's something sacred here. They're saying it's in the smoke. Quite often when I see smoke, I can think of it sometimes as like a haze or a bit of a facade, but this doesn't seem like this at all. It's actually reminds me of how people traditionally throughout history would have fires, and you know, the fire would be the center of a sacred practice. I am getting something else about, even if there is like some smoke around you, you still have managed to maintain your clarity. Even if at times you feel like your head's in the clouds, it's really not. You actually are a lot more clear than what you think or have previously thought that you are. And I am getting the feeling that you're in the middle of something here as well. Hearing the grass is greener. We all know that saying, right? The grass is greener on the other side or whatnot. I'm also getting something about hieroglyphs or hieroglyphs. I can't remember how to pronounce it. Alright, that's what I'm getting for that card. So moving on to the Ten of Bows, responsibility. It's just like a lot of hard work, a really long road. You know, I was about to say really well traveled. Yeah. Like, look, it looks like it's not too far away either, but it's just still that like uphill battle, right? But I am getting the words haven and sanctuary is at the top of it or at the end of the road. So I can't think of much better than that. I'm getting the sense of community as well, and friendship, and not particularly family, but it feels like family, maybe in that sense of community there, or the people that are around. So it's like once you get to that point, I think things are going to get so much easier for you. That would be a very welcome message by a lot of people, I think. Yeah, okay, and then the Two of Vessels with attraction. I do get the feeling that whoever's coming in here with this attraction, if this is another person for you, that maybe you do come from different worlds, but it doesn't mean anything and it doesn't change the love. It doesn't dilute the love. It doesn't dilute the relationship. If anything, I think it's just part of that balance of how you intertwine and come together. It feels almost magical. For those of you that this is not about another person as per se, I still feel like it's another love in life. So I don't know if this is, like, I'm getting the feeling of fulfillment. So I don't know if this is like a child, or if this is a you know, a hobby or a work of art of some kind. Like there's something, yeah, there's another love in life. Okay, all right, so what else have we got here? All right, I'm just going to take a moment. I'll probably go quiet for a little bit and see if I can pull any messages through that hasn't come through already. They're just saying taking all the time in the world that you need will help you see. Everything is in alignment. When you take time to be clear. Okay, so the next we had the Ace of Arrows. So let's see where we go with this. I straight away feel like I'm going into a meditative state and breathing quite deeply but peacefully, and I feel calm with this. So, you know, the name of the card is the breath of life here as well. So that may just be like taking time to meditate, or some quiet time or still time, just to really get clear if you weren't already. I know we were getting that message before about being clearer than you have thought you were, and still having really good clarity, but there may be just something else there, unless it's a case that you've actually been doing a lot of meditating or being mindful in the present moment. Maybe you have been doing it already. Guys, ultimately this, you know, it's kind of crazy because I was saging the decks at the start because it sort of felt like obviously if you feel called to, you do. But I definitely thought the energy was going to be heavier than this. I don't want to like jump the gun here, but it actually feels pretty good, right? Like it's coming from a place of like being supported with friends around, having a good time, to being really clear on the things that you want in life. And it's like it has that energy of execution or taking action as well. So it's not only do you get to be really clear on it, but you know what you can do to work towards it, and what's obtainable and what's logical, and the practical steps to make it all come together and work really well. And it's, I don't know if you're at this point yet of being on this journey, or if you're currently in it. I feel like for most of you, you're probably currently in it. So it's like maybe you've made some connections that are supportive, you've got really clear on what you want, you know what you have to do to execute it, and you're currently in that stage of executing it at the moment. Despite however it feels, like that doesn't, I know it sounds like it just rolls off the tongue really easily, but it doesn't take away the fact that this might still be a hectic journey, or that it hasn't been hard or a challenge and whatnot. Yeah, and then I do feel like the Two of the Vessels with the attraction card, that this is something that comes in at the end. So I don't really feel like anyone at this point has made it to, you know, the end of this journey so far, the end of this path being traveled. But I guess, you know, if you had, you probably wouldn't be here, right? So, okay, that's all I need for these cards. So we're going to draw an oracle card using the Into the Lonely Woods cards. I absolutely love these cards. I actually get a little bit weirdly sentimental about them. Okay, so the first card that we got, I've actually never seen this card in the deck. I'm not a person that pulls them all out and goes through them. I just start using them straight away and sort of discover them as I go. And I've had this deck for a little while and it's never come out yet. So the card that we got was number 1, and the message is to walk the lonesome road. And yeah, I do feel like this deck is always, sometimes it can be like, I don't ever want to say it's bittersweet, right? Because there's like that real acknowledgement and validation for me when I use this deck. it's like that feeling of, I guess, the feeling of being seen. So it's like, not only are they acknowledging that maybe it actually has been quite lonely to get to where you needed and wanted to go, like, or on this journey so far. I always notice that I'll see if I can hold the card up a little bit, if that's a bit easier to see. There is the birds, but there's also like butterflies and a few leaves around and whatnot, and like the leaves flowing around always reminds me of Pocahontas, but the birds and the butterflies, it always makes me think of, it's like spirit is with you on your journey. And even if it's just that spirit's like there seeing, you know, you're in spirit's company, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So even though it is extremely lonely physically, spirit is with you. Spirit is your company. Spirit is your companion. Sorry, they just, sometimes when it doesn't come out quite right, they're still trying to get me to really hammer home with what the message is there. Being called to look at this blue onyx crystal that I've brought to the reading as part of the setup, but I wasn't really sure what for. For me, this is a really beautifully grounding stone and really calming, and it makes me feel really comfortable and safe. And it's kind of bizarre because what I know about crystals, I guess, you know, it's limited anyway, but I know enough, and it's not what I would have suspected for a crystal like that. But I absolutely love it. I actually use it quite a lot. I do feel like it does help me, obviously not only ground my own energy, but I do feel it helps me not take on other people's energy as much either. So okay, I'm getting the message that we are done with this reading, so it actually went a lot quicker than I was expecting. So thank you all, group 1, for being with me today. Hopefully you got something out of this and it resonated. I'll catch you guys in another video. Okay, welcome group 2. If you chose the Waite Tarot and I just wanted to say like Lemurian seed, but we didn't choose that, and I haven't brought one to the reading. It's just something that came to mind, so maybe that would be a good crystal for you guys to work with at this point in time. But the crystal that was actually part of the group selection was the Pistachio Calcite, which is really soft, really calming. I'm getting the words angelic coming through for it. I do feel like it could be used to work with the crown chakra, maybe even in a bit of a grounded sense as well there, which can be really nice. Yeah, I'm starting to, like, as I'm just like looking at it and sort of holding it up, I'm starting to get a bit of that energy come through the crown chakra myself now. So, okay, alrighty. The cards that we've drawn so far, we have the Temperance card, the Three of Pentacles, here we go, 5, 6, 7, the Six of Wands, the Hierophant, and the Hangman. So let's see what we have with this Temperance card here. I am noticing that the sun in the background it looks like there's a little path that, you know, goes through a bit of a mountainous area, and there's the sun in the background there, and it's like being on that path to bigger, better, brighter things. But there's like that dual energy here of this really tall green grass, where it's like the green, the grass is greener on the other side, and that's the second, you know, I got that same message in group 1 as well. So I wonder if there's something going on with the energy there. Okay. Although it's weird, because even though I thought it was coming through in a dualistic manner, I guess it could just be like 2 messages at once. They don't have to be different sides of the coin. Take it as you will. I am noticing, or being called to notice, that the water is really clear. You can see that she's actually got 1 foot in the water, and you can see it, like there's no murkiness or anything like that. And so it's mentioning or bringing to light that the water is really clear, and it's really good water. And everything around them is really green as well, right? So I feel like it's like really fertile lands, fertile times. And then of course the 2 cups, it's sort of like the balance and fulfillment. I was wanting to say ebb and flow, back and forth, connection. Yeah. There's definitely that element of balance there. But also 1 foot in and out of the water. Yeah. They are saying be careful not to slip over, so I don't know if you've maybe quite literally had your hands full, or had kept a busy schedule, or been dealing with a multitude of things at the moment. Okay, so that's enough for that card. So moving on to the 3 of Pentacles. I am getting something here about a person being very stiff and stubborn in character, or with stiff and stubborn traits. That they're just hard to work with in general, but they get the job done. And that's all that you need for this point in time. And then I don't feel like you'll have to work with them again after that. But otherwise, there's lots of teamwork and people working in really well together. And I feel like some of the other people are around that are also witnessing this stiff, stubborn traits and characteristics are quite helpful in the way that they understand that maybe not everybody's pulling their weight, and they are more than happy to help alleviate the burden and really working with you to just make it as easy as possible on both of you to like get through the situation for the moment. And I mean, there's always, I feel like in life there's just always somebody somewhere that has to be that person that just needs to make it hard for everybody. But I think the real blessing here is that when you at least have to deal with that, you have somebody else in your court, and that's what the real blessing is. Yeah, there's a definite person in your court here. Okay, so the 6 of Wands. Yeah, and I do feel like, you know, working together as best as we can. Sometimes I know it's so awkward, right? Because I'm such an advocate for like not having to bite our tongue, and to not live passively, and to stand up for ourselves and all of that. But the way that I've really shown up in the world, especially, I don't know, most of my life really, has sort of been to just do all those things, to not rock the boat and whatnot. But I feel like this is actually a situation where it's just not worth the time or the drama that would actually come out of it if you were to really like step in here and say something to this person, or to really try to hold them accountable, because they're just not going to have it anyway. It's not going to be well received, and they're not going to do anything or change anything about, like, you know, nothing's going to come of it. if anything, it will just really make them dig their heels in more than they already have. And, you know, the pentacles are a representation of that earth energy. And like earth energy, you can't get more stubborn or stiff or slow moving than that as it is anyway. Steadfast, like, yeah. Okay, so that's what I got for that card. So back to the Six of Wands. Yeah, so yeah, if you can make it through that time. It's weird, right? Because, you know, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced it. You might be telling a story to somebody or telling someone about something that's happened in life, and maybe it was an emotional moment, some sort of situation that's happened in the past. When you're telling the story and you're getting so emotional about it, sometimes when we're telling the story, we sort of get lost in it and we go back in time to that moment where we really feel that raw emotion as if it's happening to us now. It's almost like, I guess, being triggered, right? And so I do feel like whatever this energy is that you've been dealing with would actually be quite hard to keep separate and detached from. So it's really important, I think, during this time to stay grounded, do as best as you can to be detached from it. Really just you and the people or the person that is in your court, and you're supporting each other and bouncing off each other. Just really be there for each other and just sort of revel in that, you know, kinship of a kind. And that'll be what will help really get you through it. And then when you get past that point and all that hard dragging it through the mud work is over, you can actually have something to celebrate. You don't have to deal with that person anymore. You have even stronger foundations than what you did before with these people that were really supportive and helping. Even if they're not like supportive in like an emotionally available support way, it might literally be that they just show up and help you, and they've always got your back, and that's what counts in this situation. Yeah, I'm getting the words success, glorified, dignity, homecoming or upcoming. I can't tell what the difference was, what that word was meant to be. Maybe it was meant to be both. You know, I'm sure not everybody's always happy to see other people's success because of comparison and ego and all that other stuff, but I do feel like in general, almost most people here are like really over the moon for you. Like they're on your team and they're super stoked and they're quite happy for you, and they're just happy to see things work out for you and that it's come to fruition. So I do wonder if this is some sort of like business venture here. I actually kind of wonder if it's some sort of like spiritual business venture or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I actually even wonder, like, maybe that is the case, right? Entertain the idea that maybe it is the case and you are quite spiritual, and maybe you're coming to terms with, you know, if you are deciding to do something with it, talking to people about it and sharing with people, because that's the only way that we'll ever, I don't know, share it, right? You have to at some point sort of step out of your comfort zone and be a little bit vulnerable and share with people that maybe, you know, aren't always so, I guess, supportive of those ideas and beliefs and all of that. In reality, they just haven't had their time come yet, right? They're just not ready for it. But I've felt, as soon as I started touching on it potentially being like quite a spiritual thing here, or having something to do with spirituality, it's become hard for me to talk about. And I wonder if that's what you're dealing with this person. Like, you're trying to talk or share or express, and that it's just not being met well. It's not being well received by this person. Yeah. I think when that happens, the most important thing is to know that even if it's like, because it can be scary, right? But even if it's not well received, we know the people that do receive it well or do understand or are like-minded are there for you when they get it. Take solace in it, and it's important to have a safe space where you can talk about it. And I feel like as long as you have that safe space, you can talk about it, then, you know, it can help alleviate that in some way. And the other thing is that maybe if you're in a area or a place at the moment where there's not a lot of these people around, maybe this is a call for you to actually start some sort of safe space for, you know, the like-minded people to connect with. Yeah. If you did, it would, I have that feeling you would be revered for it. All right, moving on to the Hierophant. So this is typically like the teacher energy, and it can be tradition. I guess the word that comes to mind for me at this point in time is like, it's sacred. So it's passing on sacred traditions, sacred teachings. You know, he has the keys at the bottom of his feet, and he has the students or disciples at his feet as well. So the Hierophant is passing on the keys to the learnings, like the knowledge, sharing. Yeah. This is really beautiful. I actually really like this energy a lot. Yeah. I do sort of wonder with this whole Temperance card at the start here, if, you know, it's that whole like, is the grass greener on the other side? This looks like a path to possible enlightenment. You know, like really fertile lands and grounds. And maybe you're just not really sure because you still have that like 1 foot in and 1 foot out. You're not really sure if you're quite ready to totally embrace it, but by the look of you, the rest of you is. So it's really just like that one small little bit of fear or something else there, like reluctancy to step into it. Again, it's becoming hard to talk about. So as soon as you can fully step into it and acknowledge it and sit with it and be it and align with it, it will get a lot easier for you. And yeah, I do feel like this, it keeps happening, Jesus. I do feel like this whole stage where, you know, you're trying to really work in with people to build the dream. Guys, this is crazy. This is how much this is like affecting my speaking. I do feel like how you're having to work with these people in this situation, and this is really foundational to how everything else is going to play out. So that's why there's that need to, in this particular situation, bite your tongue. And I feel like the fact that I've had to keep repeating it, maybe there is reluctancy there to want to do that, and I totally understand it. It's just right now, if you do that, could potentially undo all of this, and this is an outcome that we want to maintain if we will. I feel called to mention that there's, you know, always that free will and freedom of choice, and you can change the outcome of things quite rapidly. And this is, you know, a tarot reading on the internet, so you know your situation better than anybody else, and just because you don't do what the cards say doesn't mean things are not going to work out. You should always do what you think is best anyway. Sometimes this stuff can be really helpful. So, okay. All right, so moving on to the Hangman at the end here. I do feel that if you're able to keep on track with all of this, it is just literally reaching that different point of perspective, that it is literal enlightenment. I feel called to see if I can read the energy of the card in a different way. They're just saying if he is sideways, what does he see? Is it the same that he would see if it were just me? Take from that what you will. Okay, so it's time for an oracle, so time to move on. Okay, so we're going to be using 2 oracles for this reading so far. So we have Circles of Healing, which is what I'm using now. Perfect. Okay, and the card says, through the trustworthy grace of divine timing, my soul blooms and creatively expresses my unique destiny with love. Yeah, I do, like, I'm very specifically noticing like the blue in the cards seem to be standing out to me more right now than what they did before, and it's sort of highlighting that being able to speak about it and be authentic about it, sharing with others. Yeah, I have heard something too before, and I haven't really done a great deal of work on it myself to actually work out whether it is the case or not. But I have heard people say that, you know, I understand different chakras can be different colors at different times and for different people, but I have heard people say that it can start out like quite a bright blue when it needs work and end up working towards a turquoisey color once some of the work has been done. So that would be actually interesting to see if there's any sort of substance to that. Don't mind me just knocking the chair. Sorry, I just had to check that the camera was still going for a second there. Thought maybe something was up, but we're all good. Okay, keeping on with the reading. So the next oracle we're using is Oracle of Mermaids. Let's see what we get here. Do you know what's really funny is that it almost feels like opposing energy here, where the colors of the cards are almost mirroring outward. Okay, so the cards that we pulled, we have fertility with potential, powerful, creative energy, initiation energy. Giving birth to something new, being in the essence of your feminine, and that can just be that intuition as well. And a lot of the colors on this card are that indigo-y purple and the white, almost like there's almost small tinges of gold even, and they're all colors that I would associate with like the third eye and the crown chakra, which is absolutely wonderful. Yeah, and there's another thing here too where it's like her hair, it's so long. I know that you can't see like the total length of it, but I just get the feeling like it's really long, and it reminds me of like Avatar and whatnot, where the people connect their hair and themselves to their environment and plug into Awa and everything around them through their hair. I have heard a lot of people say that they feel like hair is the spiritual antenna, and I do actually wonder if there's definitely something there to that, and it's just, I don't know, I'm not willing to cut my hair to find out, right? Because I for some reason believe that your hair is really sacred and you should grow it out, and that's not something that not a belief I embodied in my younger years, but here we are. Okay, so that was card number 8. Moving on to card number 28 is Sanctuary, with privacy, inviolate personal space, respected boundaries and taboos. They're just saying keeping in touch with yourself. So if it is a case that you are quite literally having a child, we all know, I don't know, unless you're a first-time parent, but for those of us who have done it before, we all know how that can go, where you quite literally dedicate your life and your time to this new child, and especially in that like first you know, 3, 6, 12 months of having a baby can be full on. For those of you that it's not about having a child, which is probably most people, to be honest, I feel like it's only like a very small portion or small group that it's representing family. Yeah. This is just like taking time for yourself. It really, maybe that's something that you need to do, is like, it's just sort of coming back to that reference of like having that safe space, and taking time for yourself. And I guess that sort of goes hand in hand with that like meditation, but maybe it is quite literally taking a bath, like a nice relaxing long bath, and doing things to really support yourself. Okay, so next we had Lemuria returns, earthly spirituality, community, ocean conservation. If this is not mirroring what I feel like we've already mentioned here, I don't know what is. Again though, themes of like the pregnancy happening there. There's definitely like somebody in this group has to be pregnant. I should mention also the card numbers, right? So we went 8, 28, 29, and then 3 is the last one. Just interesting though. It's almost like new birth after that time of rest. So maybe this fertility is like that initial, well, it does say initiation energy. So it's like that initial birth of the idea where it's potential, and it does say potential as well. Okay. Taking that time to really rest and then actually coming forth with something. The very last card that we have is receptivity. Allow yourself to receive and allow yourself to give. I feel like this is working in commune with spirit. Okay, so I'm just going to take a moment to go quiet and see if I get anything else come through before we close out the reading for today. Okay, so I'm being called to mention the lepidolite. So both of these stones are lepidolite, or I think people also pronounce it lepidolite. Anyway, so from what I understand of this stone, it can be a stone of transformation, where I guess if you have, like, it can be affiliated with anxiety and depression, and transforming that to a new stage, I guess, or like coming out of that. And lepidolite was actually one of the first crystals that I ever, I guess, I meditated and was shown a crystal, and I had to like look for a crystal that looked like what I seen in the meditation and try to find it in real life. And yeah, it was kind of crazy, and I actually did a lot of work with it. So when I first sort of started, when I first had my awakening, if you will, I worked with lepidolite a lot, and they're definitely both themes for me with the anxiety and depression that have come up at different stages in life. I'm no stranger to that, and I do feel like it quite literally helped me through those stages so much. I don't want to like tell you things that, like, you know, you don't have any scientific backing for, but I truly believe that meditation, I actually don't know about the meditation, there may be genuine scientific backing for that, but maybe not with the crystals, that it does help rewire the brain. And I do think that lepidolite is like a really strong candidate for that. The last video I did, there was a pile where we mentioned, I think it was fluorite, and fluorite for me is another one that does that similar stuff. Maybe not quite as profound or in a different way. I feel like the fluorite is more balanced, whereas I feel like the lepidolite really narrows in on those specific areas that I mentioned when you're dealing with mental health and not feeling supported and whatnot. It's one of the most beautiful stones, and not just to look at, like obviously it's very pretty or beautiful to look at physically, like, but the energy of the stone is wonderful, and it's actually just holding it and talking about it is making me want to work with it again. And it's kind of no surprise that this is something that's come up in this reading, because if you've listened to me a few times by now, you would know I've said, or I regularly say, that the messages that come through, not only are they for you, the audience, but they share similar messages for me, myself. So definitely a really good one to do work with there. And I mean, even if you don't resonate with having anxiety and depression, it doesn't mean that it's not a great stone to work with regardless. I do actually also, for some of you, I don't know why I feel called to show this one as well, so maybe some of you would like to see that more instead. It does look like the galaxy to me, even though it's purple. It really reminds me of Milky Way or the galaxy. But I believe that you can also work with the Akasha or Akashic records with Labradorite as well. So even for those of you that don't resonate with the mental health side of stuff there, you might be doing some really deep, I'm feeling called to say 5th dimensional and 12th dimensional work. I don't know about astral travel or if it's just the Akashic stuff. Probably both, probably more the astral actually. I love it. It's such a beautiful stone. I could just talk about it all day long. And I mean, if it wasn't like the time of night that it is when I'm filming this, I probably would. So definitely a good one to have a look into if you feel called to. Yeah, it's so beautiful. And like I've said before, you don't need the big, gigantic crystals or the crazy formations. Like having something like a tumble that's small, easy to take with you everywhere. It makes it easy, but it's so much cheaper. You don't need to have a lot or anything big or flashy. It still works just as well. Yeah. Doesn't take away from the importance. Okay guys, that's all that I have for you today for group 2. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the reading and got something out of it. If there's anything here that you would like to share with us, or if you have any questions regarding it, reach out to me. I don't know why I didn't even notice to say it before, and I sort of was wondering why I was bringing this lady to the reading. So this to me is like the mother, or Mother Gaia, or Mother Earth, representation of the physical manifestation of the mother. And she is quite obviously pregnant, but her belly is the world, and it actually really ties in with that whole fertility and the being pregnant and everything. So that's kind of crazy, hey? It's definitely even if there is no actual child or pregnancy happening, which I'm definitely sure there is for at least a couple people, there's got to be somebody. If there's not, it's really embodying that feminine motherly energy, and it doesn't even have to be what we typically think in the West as what mothering is, but just being really nurturing and really I don't know, I want to say soft and kind. I mean, yeah. Okay guys, time to close it out. Thank you for joining us today. Again, I hope it resonates and that you got something out of it, and I'll catch you in another reading. Okay, that one. Welcome group 3. If you chose the Light Seers Tarot and the Labradorite, then this is your reading for today. Today's topic, just in case you skipped the intro, was ways to try to reduce or help our overthinking. So we'll see what we get come through. Okay, so this is the group that I feel called to talk about the smoky quartz for. I did a reading, I don't know if it was the last one or the time before, where I actually talked a little bit about smoky quartz. If you were in that pile, I've been called to actually read from the book about it today. When I say the book, I'm talking about the Crystal Bible by Judy Hall. I didn't sit down and read about it before jumping into the reading. I just knew that that was going to be something we were going to do in regards to it. So I'll check that we've actually got smoky quartz in this one. I've got a couple different, I don't know, additions, if you will, for this book, so if it's not in this one, it will definitely be in one of them. Worst comes to worst, we can go off what we know. Smoky. Do you know what I really like is those times where it just like flips out perfectly on the page that you're like looking for, and it just doesn't want to happen today. It makes me think it's not in this book. No, it is. Here we go. Smoky Quartz 239. I'm looking in the wrong section. 239. I should just be quiet sometimes, hey? Alright, 239. Smoky Quartz. So, what are we looking for? Okay, so smoky quartz is particularly effective for ailments of the abdomen, hips, and legs. It relieves pain, including headaches, and benefits the reproductive system, muscle and nerve tissue, and the heart. Smoky quartz dissolves cramps, strengthens the back, and fortifies the nerves. This stone aids assimilation of minerals and regulates liquid within the body. So I feel like that's like a really physical list of benefits, like physical healing benefits, which is not what I was expecting. I was sort of thinking maybe there would be something about the spiritual and psychological stuff. Here we go. Let's try this. Okay, so smoky quartz is one of the most effective grounding and anchoring stones, and at the same time raises vibrations during meditation. This protective stone has a strong link with the earth and the base chakras. In reference to the base chakras, there's not just your root chakra, there is also the earth star chakra, which is sort of, I think it's like half a foot below your feet, or maybe a foot below your feet, where it like sort of links you into the earth. Okay, promoting a concern for the environment and ecological solutions. This stone is a superb antidote to stress. It assists in tolerating difficult times with equanimity, fortifying resolve, grounding spiritual energy, and gently neutralizing negative vibrations. Smoky quartz blocks geopathic stress, absorbs electromagnetic smog, and assists elimination and detoxification on all levels. It brings in a positive vibration to fill the space. Smoky quartz teaches you how to leave behind anything that no longer serves you. It can be used to protect the earth chakra below the feet and its grounding cord when in an area of disturbed earth energy. So that's actually really lovely, and I feel called to talk about ley lines. Not that I know that much about them, I'm super interested in them. So if you do know about them, I would actually love if you know any good links or have any good information to please share it in the comments so that we can all learn from it. So the ley lines, I don't think people realize as much as I didn't, and it is really hard to find any, let alone good information on ley lines. But we don't realize, like, even for those of us that are energy sensitive, that sometimes we get hit with so many different energies coming from anywhere and everywhere and different people, and we live in really close proximity these days, well, at least I do anyway. And everywhere I go is busy. When I go to a shop, there's like however many other people around, and anyway, so the earth holds energy as well. And I have heard people talk about all sorts of things about if you live in certain areas, it can not hold fantastic energy. And I don't know if it's because of historical events that have played out in the area. I don't really feel that that's the case, although it doesn't mean that it's not ever the case. It's just, I feel like there's predominantly something else at play. And I don't know if it's almost like a focused, concentrated current of energy from the people that have either built the roads where we live in Australia, maybe not everywhere else, or it's almost like a collective energy from the people living around you that's almost deposited into the earth, because the earth does absorb and it does transmute energy as well, which is even weirder to me of how we get these pockets of like dense or not fantastic energy in the earth, and I don't understand why. Anyway, I would love it if you could shed some light on that, because I'm very I'm not studied on it at all. And this is just like rough understandings, things that I've heard and sort of put together. But one thing I can say is that I have heard of people that actually go to certain places and they do energy healing of the lands, and it is supposed to help transmute this energy. So one thing that I have heard people do is that people will astral travel and then go do ley line land healing in their sleep. So whether you're doing it when you're asleep, astral traveling, whether you're doing it in your waking hours and physically going to some place and working on the land quite literally with energy healing and blessings and everything else that you can do, you're helping restore the earth's chakras and the energy grid lines and everything like that. And I think there's something like really sacred about it and something to be said for that. And something I could talk about all day long, but I just don't know enough about it. Like, I'm not educated on the subject. So, okay, moving on. So we need to finish this chapter on the smoky quartz because we haven't even got into the reading yet. So psychologically, smoky quartz relieves fear, lifts depression, and brings emotional calmness. I should take this moment to also point out that two of the crystals that have joined us today is this is lepidolite or lepidolite, and this can be a stone that's used to transform us out of times of anxiety, fear, and depression. It can also be used in working with the Akasha or Akashic records, and it can also be working with like astral traveling, and I'm being called to mention the 5th and the 12th dimension. And to me, it's like, it's so beautiful. Like, it is genuinely a really pretty color and stone and everything. But like, especially this bigger piece, it just reminds me of the galaxy or the Milky Way. Like, there's something so beautiful about it. But anyway, okay, back to the book. I actually wonder if you guys are quite like to the point, because I'm not wasting too much time like going into detail here. It's like we've got to keep it moving. Okay, so it alleviates, here we go. This is going to tie in really well with the lepidolite. It alleviates suicidal tendencies and ambivalence about being in incarnation. Smoky quartz aids acceptance of the physical body and the sexual nature, enhancing virility and cleansing the base chakra so that passion can flow naturally. This crystal alleviates nightmares and manifests your dreams. When it comes into contact with negative emotions, it gently dissolves them. Mentally, smoky quartz promotes positive, pragmatic thought and and can be used in scrying to give clear insight to neutralize fear and failure. It dissolves contradictions, promotes concentration, and alleviates communication difficulties. Smoky quartz facilitates moving between alpha and beta states of mind and aids clearing the mind for meditation. Physically, because smoky quartz is often naturally irradiated, it is excellent for treating radiation-related illnesses or chemotherapy. However, care should be taken to select naturally formed stones with minuscule radiation rather than ones that have been artificially treated with radiation. So these stones are usually very black and non-transparent. Tolerance of stress is much improved with the assistance of relaxing smoky quartz, and this stone provides pain relief. In healing, a layout of slow release smoky quartz pointing out from the body can prevent a healing crisis from occurring. I have a second piece of smoky quartz I'm going to go grab and show you guys to show you the difference between the artificial and the natural form. Thanks for bearing with me. Okay, so here, hopefully we can see the difference in color. I might just try to let the light shine through. It is a bit hard because I do feel like this heart is still quite dark, even though I believe it is actually like a naturally formed piece. to me, it's got much more of that browny, greyish sort of colour, or it's a little bit, I guess the colour or the pigment's not as dense, whereas you can really tell here with this, where it's almost black in points, and you can get like dark smoky quartz, but I'm almost certain that this has actually, it's, I guess that artificial, where it's like the crystal is real, but it's artificial treatment with the radiation that they've done to actually bring out those colors in it. So I guess at the end of the day, it is still, it's sort of like the whole ametrine, citrine, amethyst thing, where it's like you can get heat treated amethyst and it's still actual citrine, because the, you know, the chemical changes or whatever, I guess the physical changes that it's undergone the process, it's still citrine in the end. It's just not naturally formed. But I think the whole point they were touching on here is if you do have cancer and you are working with chemo or anything like that, try to go for the natural one. I don't know, I like the, I would normally try to go for the natural crystal over any others anyway, but I mean, we're all different and it doesn't mean they're not beautiful if not. Okay, let's see, moving on. So we can finally start with our cards. Hopefully you guys actually got something out of that and it wasn't just like a gigantic ramble, but I mean, it was put there for a reason, so. Oh, that's not going upside down. That's too many, it's not what we want. Loving how the Empress for this tarot deck has the pregnant belly on it, where it actually looks like the world, and this little figure or statue that I have here is like the world on the mother's belly. It's beautiful. It's a nice little confirmation there. I thought I needed to pull another one, but maybe it's just not yet. Okay, so we have cards number 9, 3, and 5. So the Hermit, the Empress, and the 5 of Cups. So we'll start with, I do want to like take a second to acknowledge the colors here, where it's like the bluey greens, and there is still bluey green in the Empress card here. It's just predominantly like the yellow and orange as well, but it's almost like a mirroring happening there. So the Hermit, so typically the Hermit is the time spent in hermitude or going within, or what else can it be? Time alone, time for introspection. I'm hearing something about like finding the way through your dark, through yourself. Yeah, and you can see here that there is a bit of light around the girl, where it's almost as if she is illuminated or the light is coming from within her. And quite often when I have, you know, dealings with spirit, I get messages about you have like everything that you need is already within you, and it can just be a case of meditating or living in alignment so that we can maintain that connection with spirit. And you know, what is it, not integration, I don't know, I guess sometimes just having a clear mind or allowing ourselves to process things, giving ourselves the time of day to do all of that, so that we actually have that strong sense of self and we know where we're coming from and what we think, and you know, we've had time to ponder and really get to know ourselves. So maybe that's the stage that you are in or are currently coming out of. There is a really nice energy to this though. So even if you didn't enter into this stage necessarily very willingly, I do feel like you've had some beautiful transformation during this time, and that you're now ready to come out of it embodying those lessons and that beautiful transformation. And again, you know, mention with the lapidolite there for transformation. Okay, go else here? Okay, so moving on to the Empress. So we've already pointed out about the fertility. It does look like there is like a little school of fish here, that I guess that's an abundant fertility in life, isn't it? When there's like lots of natural resources and it's like good, healthy, wild, fresh fish. I don't know if you live in an area where you go fishing a lot, or if fish is something that's highly prioritized in your diet, or it's something that you might need. If you were pregnant, right, you can take, I think it's like DHA or something like that, which is, I believe, something that comes from fish oil or fish anyway. God, I used to know all this sort of stuff. My brain's just melted now. I don't know if it's like the fatty acids or the lipids or something, whatever it is, there's something in the fish that's like really good for babies' brains and eyes development, and maybe even a little bit with the blood-brain barrier development as well. Okay, so I do feel like there is that divine connection, between like spirit and yourself, and I do get a feeling of integration here, like being quite integrated as a person, and that for me, it's like really, that's quite a tricky thing to get on top of at different times in life, right? Where you can feel that yo-yo between higher states of consciousness and being stuck in the mundane, and everything feels like dredging through mud just to get through normal day-to-day life. But I feel like you have quite good balance on it. Or maybe that's something that you're coming into as you come out of the hermitude, is finding that balance. And that would kind of make sense, right? Because the hermit, you can be spending all this time sort of on your own or within spirit and all that introspection and the inner worlds, the inner realms. And when you're coming out, it's like finding that integration between the yo-yo, between the back and forth. For anyone that doesn't know what I'm talking about, it's that horrible Australian slang, right? Okay, what else have we got here? I do have to say that the Empress is in her power. She is empowered and she is in her element. And it's like the confidence in herself, but just ultimately being very empowered in herself, by herself. There's no need for like any external validation here, because she's done the work in her solitude and hermitude, where she's actually quite full of herself and quite happy with herself, and she understands the difference, that it doesn't matter what people think, that anyone worth really having around, they just take you as you are and they just love you for who you are, right? For the people that are worth having around. And it's probably a lesson that we could all take a note on. Kudos to you. I am getting something here up the top. You can see the girl's hair, and it almost looks like some dreads to me. And I don't know, I've been having an interesting conversation recently with a friend that I think she's doing hair wraps, and I don't want to go too much into detail with it, but the hair wraps have to do with a spiritual significance. And so I wonder if this is highlighting to me that it's like you've reached a particular level, or ascertained a level here of spiritual knowledge or wisdom or experience, or there's something, maybe it's a level of self-work that you've done, whether it's like soul retrieval, integration, or it could be anything. It could literally just be shadow work. It could just be asking ourselves out, going quiet, whether it's in meditation or not, asking ourselves, the hard questions and seeing what comes up first. And sometimes we get our, subconscious mind come through, and it can quite easily give us those answers. And it's such an underrated tool that's like, I feel like everyone talks about it and it's kind of trendy at the moment to do shadow work and everything, but I actually wonder sometimes how much people are really doing the real work. But it's not something to be taken lightly either, because it can be quite hard and it can be quite confronting at times, but generally most of the time we have pretty good release from it, and it has helped me significantly with some stuff that I dealt with for years and years and years. Okay, so moving on to the very last card that we have, which is the Five of Cups. And typically this is like a card of grief for me. And loss. And I do feel like it is loss, but instead of just being lost, what I feel like it's more in relation to right now is a letting go of an old sense of self. And so maybe you are grieving that old sense of self here with this, you know, being, you know, spending that time on your own, deep introspection, really getting to know yourself. Maybe there's been that form of transformation, right? Or the transformation's coming out into this new stage of being the Empress and really embodying that empowerment and everything. But maybe part of you still really grieves or misses, you know, some of your old self, the old way of being, because like, you know, if the Hermit and the Empress is major arcana here. I'm even starting to get goosebumps on my legs as I'm talking about this. I wish it was on my arm so I could show you and be like, see? Anyway, so it's major arcana stuff, so it's quite weighty, like in life, like it makes me think it's really big things that have or are happening for you. So maybe it doesn't sound like a lot when I'm talking about it, but like the depths of how much it's really impacted your life or how much change there's been is kind of crazy. Like it would be hard to measure or to quantify, as are most nuanced things in life anyway. But yeah, when we are one way for almost all of our lives and something happens and then we're sent into this period of transformation and rebirth and coming out the other side of it, we really can grieve and, you know, have nostalgia and have that sentimental like love for our old selves, and it's what we knew, like our way of being is what we knew, right? And it's learning to navigate the world from a totally different perspective and standpoint, and it can just be challenging, even if, you know, life itself can be challenging without this higher level of transformation, but it's to a point too where it can sometimes affect us on deeper levels or inner levels where maybe for other people they sort of see some of the changes but they don't really understand it. They can't logically work, like unless they've been through that experience themselves, they have a hard time trying to grasp the concept of why you're different, or just understanding you. Maybe you don't really feel seen in this new energy as this new person that you are. And the truth is that you are always who you have always been. It's just like a different stage of life and different things that have happened to sort of bring us into this position. And if you understand, God, I hope I'm talking about the right thing now. I used to listen to a lot of like scientific lectures and whatnot, and don't mind me bumping the chair. I used to listen to a lot of scientific lectures, and I haven't done for years now, and I probably should if I'm going to quote things from them, but to try to explain it just for an example, can't remember if it's epigenetics or something, where we genetically have a set of genes or traits that, depending on our environment, will be turned on or off. So say we're in a really dangerous environment and all of a sudden we'll have all these genes that we would not have had actively turn on or be present in a really safe, calm, relaxing, you know, good times, prosperous life. But in a dangerous life, it might be like that anxiety and hyper independence and all that sort of stuff, or it might even show up in forms of aggression and things like that. However that manifests or works out depending on the environment and the person and the actual genetics themselves. But like the genealogy of it, like it's not always so straightforward of just you're this person or you're that person, like you're typically angry or you're typically that. Like it's all the ways of thinking that I judged myself on so harshly for years and years when I was younger, that you just realize as you get older, it's just really quite like two-dimensional, immature level of like looking at the world, isn't it? So yeah, moving on, time to pick an oracle card. Let's just check there's nothing else here. No, we're good. Okay, so I feel like for you guys we're going to use the Chakra Love cards and see if we get something here. I was going to say, how cool would it be if we got the Labradorite or the Smoky, but we didn't. So we got compassion, resolve your conflicts with compassion. The chakra is the heart chakra, and the crystal is jade. I do have a piece of jade I'll quickly run and grab. For those of you that picked the group that had jade show up from this exact card last time, I'm not going to do this every video, but I feel like there's enough different people here as part of the collective for this group that haven't seen that and need to. So, okay, we want another oracle card. What do we want? Okay, so this is the Rebecca Campbell Work Your Light Oracle. Let's see what we can get. That's perfect. That's what we want. Okay, so we got Inner Temple, Devotion, Tune in to the portal of your heart. And so that was the first card. The second card is Mintaken, or Mintaken, longing for home, belonging, the original light workers. Yeah, and I don't know, that tune into the portal of your heart just lines up really perfectly with that heart chakra and compassion. And then you guys were the guys, this was the group that I was talking about the ley lines with, and this Mintaken card mentioning the original light workers actually makes a lot of sense. And you know, it mentions that longing for home and the belonging, and that can, like, I guess, resonate or tie back to that whole, if you are experiencing that new sense of self that other people don't get, we don't always really feel seen, or we don't feel like we belong in this place that we used to so easily. Yeah. Do we want anything else? One more thing. So this is when I lean on certainty and faith, I change my mind about the world I see. I think this is like the universe has my back cards or something. When I surrender more. Okay, so what did we get? In every moment, the universe is conspiring to bring me toward right-minded thinking and the energy of love. Oh, that's really nice. I don't feel like I need to elaborate on that. I feel like that ties in quite nicely. I do feel like we need to pull one more card, or from one more deck. So this is the Crow Tarot that we'll be using. I'll just see what we get coming out from it. Okay, so we got the Knight of Cups and the King of Swords. It's interesting. I'm just going to take a moment to go quiet and see if I can get anything come through for this. The same for the Knight of Cups, it's holding your own and taking your time to develop in your intuition and your sense of self. Just see what we can get for the King of Swords. I do see, like, with the Knight of Cups, it can, maybe you're like working on that intuitive connection, and even if it's not intuitive connection, it could just be that deep connection with self. And sometimes what might get in the way is this, like, King of Swords energy that you may embody, where it's like really logical. And this is actually something that I struggle with quite a lot as well. It can be more than just this, but you know, if you are a bit of a spiritual person, you're at this reading, there's a good chance you may be. And then you're also really logical. You can have quite a hard time like trying to grapple with the two opposing ideas here of like, it can just be hard to wrap your head around, full stop. On the other side of that is that when you are very cutthroat, you lack that, I guess, what is it? Like the capacity for nuance. And I feel like that's something that would be really important and really good for you. But then it doesn't mean to not always ever embody this energy. I mean, the King of Swords energy totally has its place. And it may be that you're so used to having been this Knight of Cups person where, you know, you're just trying to make your way and you're trying to embody it and you're trying to develop and trying to grow the sense of connection with yourself or spirit, whatever that looks like for you, that sometimes you forget that not everybody else is like you and is like that, and that sometimes you need to be a little bit more cutthroat with other people around you, just in that level of, when I say protection, I don't feel like it's anything necessarily like volatile. It could just be that you just, you know, you have boundaries in place and that's it. And the Empress totally embodies that as well. I actually do kind of, you know, I line these cards up a really weird way, and I didn't do it on purpose. It's just what's come out. But I do feel like the Hermit really aligns with this Knight of Cups energy, and I do feel like the Empress here aligns with that King of Swords energy, and she is really in power and she has boundaries in place. So that makes perfect sense to me. All right, so that's what I have. I'm just being called to use some Palo Santo over the cards. At this point, like, you're welcome to end the reading if you're happy with everything that you've gotten. Otherwise, you're welcome to stick around and watch the smudging with the Palo Santo. Sometimes when I see people smudge on camera, I do get like that transference of energy come across. So it actually, despite you not being there, I do feel like it can be really helpful sometimes, or even just nice to watch at least. I absolutely love the Palo Santo. I love all the smudging stuff, but I mean, if you get a good Palo Santo, it smells beautiful. Okay, so with that being said, guys, we've done the smudge, we've done the reading. Hopefully it was helpful and resonated in some capacity. I hope, yeah, that you guys got something out of it, and I'll catch you in the next reading. Thank you.